Welcome everybody, I'm Jen for those of you that do not know me, and welcome to my channel and Friday Fun Day. So if you're not having fun on a Friday, you're gonna have fun now. So I've got a great couple of projects in store for today's Friday Frolic Fun Day. And just really quick, for those of you that are maybe new to my channel and haven't recently heard me talk about this, Friday Frolic is in honor of my mom, because she used to always say, what's on the docket for Friday Frolic? And so instead of just being, Friday Fun Day or Fun Friday or whatever, I've thrown the Friday Frolic in there in honor of my beautiful mother. So that is where Friday Frolic Fun Day comes from. And I've cut. Now, a good idea, guys, is to cut your chain before you go ahead and put your clamshells on, because it's never going to be exact how much of your chain that you actually put up in your clamshell. It'll always be off a little bit. So if you're particular about the length being correct, then you're going to want to go ahead, grab your ruler, and then measure your chain and cut your 2 pieces of chain before you start putting your clamshells on. Okay, and as you can see, I probably have about a 2.5 inch piece. So I want these to be long and dangly, because that's another trend in 2024 is long earrings, layered looks, dramatic earrings, statement earrings, all of that stuff. So these are nice and long. Okay, and so I've got that started. And so then now all we have to do, friends, is these are the beads that will go on our earrings, and I'll just feed on my desired pattern. And then I will show you how to finish the bottom with a crimp. We do not need a clamshell over here. Easy. So you just simply feed on your crimp, right? And then we're gonna lay the ear, we're gonna get it on there, okay? And then we're gonna lay the earring back down, okay? And let me really push you in here so you can see just precisely what I'm doing. Okay, so, and you see my crimp is right here, okay? I'm gonna take that crimp, hold it between my chain nose. I am gonna then slide it all the way down to where there's only a tiny, hold on, let me get my ruler out of the way, where there's only a tiny bit of chain below it, below the crimp. So I'm going to kind of hold my earring here, and I'm gonna slide that crimp almost to the end, and then I'm gonna give it a nice squeeze. And that's all we need. And I'm gonna squeeze it nice and hard, just the once. Okay, do you see what I've got there? Okay, so you see how I have just a smidge of that chain past the crimp. That's all we want. Now, we don't want to flush cut it, because it'll compromise the crimp, because the crimp, you can tell the beading chain, has some bubbling in it, and that's what helps to grip your crimp. So we don't want to flush cut. We want to leave that little tiny bit of overhang there. Okay, we'll do our tug test just to make sure that's not coming off. The crimp gripped the chain perfectly, and we are done. Just like that, and that's what we've got. So you see, when I hold it up, it's not falling down, and I will show you there. So you see, that's what we've got. And that's the end. And of course, you can make these any length you want. I cut these, what did I say, 2 inches or 2.5? I cut these 2.5 inches, my chain, just because I like the long, the dangly, the trend of it. And super easy, guys, just like any earrings. We'll just pop open that ear wire, and then we'll feed our clamshell on. And simply close that up nice and tight. And we are done. And earring number 1 is done. Super, super cute. They're so dangly, and just the flowy, they're just precious, and they just look so pretty on. And that's a really pretty little color palette with just that little pop of white. I like that. That burly wood really offsets that gold. I love it. Okay, guys, so now we need to get into our necklace. Now, we need to cut our chain first. So we're gonna go back to the ruler. And so what I want is an 18 and a 20 inch. So the 18 piece of chain 18-inch piece of chain will be in the center, and our outer strand will be the 20 inch. So, okay, and so we're done with our ruler. We don't need that anymore at this point. Okay, and so then all I'm going to do, guys, right now is I am going to go ahead and focus on the outer strand. So let's set the inner strand over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of keep it this way. It's easier for me to feed them on. And so what we're going to do, let's first get a little jump ring on our cute little seahorse here and get him strung on the necklace. And what's nice too, when you're using some thicker gauge jump rings, as I am today, the Coreana beading chain, you know, so long as you're securing your jump rings really well, they're less likely to fall off your Coreana chain. It's a little thicker, obviously, right, than beading wire. So that looks pretty good. And we'll just go ahead and get that fed on there. And there we go. And now my pattern, see if I can figure that out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think I had one of the burly wood bicones in between each of my beads here. I think that's what I did. And then I know I put the teeny tots at the top. It's either at the top or the bottom. I think I put them at the top, and then I put a white at the top as well, just to kind of make it pop a little. And then I think I put a white at the bottom. We'll see if that's too big because we have a tiny 4mm jump ring. We maybe need the teeny tots at the bottom, again, to stabilize that jump ring. But here's another really cool tip about Coreana beading chain, is that it's not going to be tight like it is with our beading wire. It's chain, right? So everything has a little bit more fluidity and movement and space, which is what's really cool about Coreana chain, because you can see the chain throughout your beads, and it just adds to the look. So they don't have to be really tight. So the opposite of what we do in beading wire, as you know, I usually will put something really, really small right beside that jump ring when I'm feeding on a charm with a jump ring on my beading wire. That way it holds it stable in place. Well, in this case, we don't need to do that, right? Because the chain is part of the look. And if we see some of the chain through, it's actually part of the look. It looks better. But this might be too big, just for the simple fact of I just am realizing it's such a tiny, just even looking at it. In fact, I'll feed one bead on just by looking. The top of the horse head there is really close to that jump ring. So this might be too big next to it. Let's see. Maybe, maybe not. If not, we'll just switch it out with our little rondelles, our little 3.5mm rondelles there. So that might be okay. That actually might be okay. Okay. So I know I had a burly wood bicone here in between each bead. That much I recall that I had in my headspace. So we're just gonna feed each side on at the same time, you know, together. I like to, and when I'm working with the beading chain, because once we crimp it, it's crimped. If we mess it up, we actually lose the chain. We can't fix it like beading wire. So I usually try to go ahead and feed each bead on each side as I am going along. On for a minute. So we need 6 crimps now, guys. So we need 1 for each side to add it to the chain, or add it to the clamshell or inner chain. Okay, so there's 2. And then we need to do the same thing up here, so that's 4. And then we need 6 because we need 2 here to stabilize our beading work. So we'll need 6 crimps. I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6 crimps. Okay, so now what we do, guys, is we're actually gonna feed on our beaded portion here. We're gonna go ahead and feed on 2 crimps. I'm sorry, 1 crimp. 1 on each side of the chain. And we'll let it go ahead and drop. Okay, we'll let that one drop. Okay, so now this is that first part we're gonna do, right? We're going to stabilize our beading work here. And we're just going to put our chain nose over that crimp bead as it's laying on the mat here, and we'll give it a nice squeeze. And we're gonna go over here and do the same thing. And let me pull that up and show you. That's what we have. See that? We just gave 1 squeeze to each of our crimps, and they grabbed that chain and therefore stabilized the necklace. But what's really fun and cool, like I've been talking about, is, you know, when you wear the necklace, it'll be kind of about like that. You see how there's a little bit of movement? I can move the beads just a little bit. That's exactly what you want. That way, none of the beads will crack and none of the chain will crack. So there's a little bit of movement, just a smidge. Now, if I put it allow gravity to get involved here and I lay it all the way down like that, do you see that? Do you see how we have a smidge of space here between our crimp and that bead? That's perfect, because when we crimped it, or stabilized that with those crimps, we allocated for that movement so that nothing cracks, right? So it's just perfect, okay? Each piece of chain on each side through the clamshell. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and feed it through, just like that, with the clamshell portion facing up towards the end of the chain. And then I am going to do the same thing with the other piece of chain. I'm going to feed it right through, up that little hole there in the clamshell. If I can see it. There. Okay, there we go. And now there is my second piece of chain. Okay, and that, let me lay it down so you can see that's what I have. Okay, so I have both of my chain fed through. I'll turn it this way so you can see correctly. Both of my chain is through the bottom with the clamshell opening facing up. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, guys, so that's what you've got. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we are going to feed a crimp on the end of each, right? So what we'll do, and we're going to do the same thing I just showed you on the earrings. So we are going to feed on a crimp, and we're going to do this. We're going to crimp them one at a time. And so I've got a crimp on the edge of this wire. I'm going to put my chain nose over it, over the crimp, push it all the way to the edge as close as I can get to the chain and give it a nice squeeze. Okay, you see that? One's done. We're gonna do the same thing 3 more times. Now what we're gonna do is we'll pull the clamshells up, right? So we can pull the necklaces down and just do it really gentle, and it might catch a little bit. It's because it's textured, the chain. Most Coreana chain is. But we just gently go ahead and pull these clamshells up, just like that. And now what we want to do, let me get things out of the way, is we want to make sure that it is not crossed or tangled. So now we have our necklace here. Okay, great. So we want that inside strand to be facing the inside. Can you see that there, guys? I have my inside strand over here, right? And it's on the inside of my clamshell. The outside strand is on the outside of my clamshell. That's what I wanted to double check before we go ahead and close it up. So now this is all we have to do. There's our crimps right there inside, and all we're gonna do is go ahead and gently squeeze this together, just like that, and then grab your chain nose, go to the loop portion, give it a nice little squeeze. It'll go ahead and close up. If you wanna go to the ball portion of your clamshell, you can go ahead and squeeze it, but just kind of tap it, guys. Don't give it any kind of pressure because it will break. Okay, we just want to make sure that everything is laying flat when we're adding our clasp. So let's do just exactly that. Let's open up our jump rings. My gosh. And you see how it's not twisted at all? You see that, guys, how that lays so beautifully? So pretty. And again, the clamshells, they're not too big. They do fit through my clasp just fine, just perfect with those 4mm jump rings. And let me hand you up a little bit here. And we will get both of our beautiful projects in camera for you. And that's what we did. I hope I inspired you guys. I hope you will have some fun, you know, using some Coreana beading chain and, you know, start really expanding the use of it. You know, do a double strand like this. I don't know if we can do a triple strand. I haven't found a clamshell big enough for that yet, but you know, we never know. That may be coming. So look at how pretty that is though, you guys. It's just absolutely so precious. But that, you know, again, the layering, the double strand of this is so pretty. It really looks beautiful. And then of course our earrings complement that so well. They really do. So pretty.